It's up to you. So here I am back painting and painting Paris-Nice. So all of these are watercolors done with ink first, so ink and wash. You can see a couple of them right here. This is one of my more favorite races, Paris-Nice. It's also oft called the race to the sun, because they start in the cold northern climes around Paris, as the name would imply, and then ride, as the name again would imply, down to Nice and to the Côte d'Azur and the sunshine of the Mediterranean. So right now you can, well, I'm drawing it, you can't see it yet, but all of the riders are wearing long sleeves. And the next person I'm going to draw is actually in cycling knickers, which I think is supposed to be interesting, because I know my feet, when I'm riding, my feet are cold and I'm cold, so the knickers seem a little odd to me, because they're like exposing that bony part of your leg where I find the cold. Today's race has all about what's called the echelon, all about racing in crosswinds and blowing the peloton apart. At this point, these three riders, I believe Stefan Kuhn is who I just finished painting, and then another Stefan Bessinger is who I'm starting now, and Stefan Bessinger is the guy I'm doing now, is the one who's in the knickers, which you might see in just a moment. So I like to get everything laid out with the ink first and then come back in with the color. Well, actually, now I'm looking at this, it looked like his knickers join his socks, so he's really just got tights on. And that's one of the things about, I actually learned this when traveling. It's a great way to really see something is when you have to stop and draw it, and you go, oh, I just assumed that was the case, when it's actually this. Now working on, so this is a little group that's trying to get off the front. So there's just 15 kilometers left to race in today's stage, and it's been a long, hard one. Like I say, they've been racing in strong crosswinds, and that can break the peloton apart, and if you're just one moment you're out of position, boom, you're gone, and your race can be over. And there's a couple of riders who were expected to perhaps, or certainly were favored as a potential winner for the race, that got caught out today, and some that didn't quite have this first stage that they wanted to have. So now they're just basically, their race is over. I mean, I'm sure most will keep racing and finish the day. So we're just trying to get in now. So as I say, these guys have just jumped away from the lead group, which is a pretty big group and is currently being dominated by the top three riders in the race, all riding for Jumbo-Visma. The one guy you can't see, this move is being covered by one of the Jumbo-Visma riders. You can't really see him, he's sort of tucked in behind. Again, he'll get out here, cover the race, make sure they don't get too far, try to disrupt their escape if possible, but certainly not aid it, not help them get away. So now I'm just going to work through and lay in some of the landscape behind, because that's what the cool thing about cycling is. It's actually competed on open roads, running through towns. And this year, finally, you can see fans along the side of the road, although this is just a few. There's not a lot out right now. This is just some small town on the way. Like I say, it's 15K, so if you live this close to the finish line, you may, and you're totally into it, have decided to go down and watch the finish and be able to watch the jumbotrons at the finish area, so you can see the whole race play out and then be there to see what happens at the very end. That's what I would do and have done when like the World Championships were here. In Richmond is where I'm painting from. Got myself lost a little bit here. Okay, there we go. So that's sort of the image that I want to work with in terms of the drawing, the line work. Sorry, I'm having a little trouble with the computer screen behaving itself. All right, so and you can see that there's this whole thing balanced. The three guys in front, we're in close on them, but part of the story is who they've left behind, or that they've left people behind. So then with watercolors, because it's so easy to pollute your watercolors, I will work light to dark, warm to cool. So usually I'll lay in, and of course there's just a little bit of yellow in this image. Actually, there's one golden yellow car, or rectangular shape in this case, sitting back here. And that brings up one of the points I like to make, is that, watercolor, where it can be a very exacting medium, but these are quick sketches. These are done in close to real time while watching the race. So I'm not trying to capture the mood, the energy, the speed, the passion of the race, and not necessarily how many hairs, or actually with most cyclists they don't have any hairs on their legs, but how many, those kind of particulars. As you can see, like this face right here, any of these faces, there's no mouths on them. Because I'm looking for to capture the mood of the piece, the mood of what's going on, the energy that's being expended by these riders. So this is just laying in the flesh tones, and then we'll continue to move through. And now I've just said that, I do it by warm to cool, but sometimes I'll, rules are made to be broken, let's face it. So I'm just going to lay in some of the reds here of this particular kit. This is FDJ, which is a French team, and so their color team mimics the French flag. And we're moving on to Lotto Soudal. Now, again, one of those details is like anybody who watches cycling will recognize their kit. So I'm actually not bothering to show the name of the team. I'm not, I'll leave that kind of exactitude to the photographers. I'm doing something different. So again, so that's, I believe, and I may come back in here and sharpen some of these reds, but that's the amount of red in the image. In this particular kit, I've always liked EF Education has been using pink for a while now. Always nice to have a different color in the peloton. Now, when they race the Giro d'Italia, and they are the leaders, jersey is pink, they have to change their kit color, ride something else, which is a little weird. There's been a few teams over the years. Somehow Jumbo-Visma has just enough not yellow in their kit to get away with still wearing the yellow. So there's a bit of a stone or stucco wall right here. Lay that in behind these riders. Another old building right back here as well. So I bounce around a little bit because, again, one other thing is trying to keep your color and your chroma, your image interesting. So now I'm going to bounce back to the blues. You notice I'm dipping my brush a lot in the water. That time to clean it. And then with watercolor, your intensity of color is based on the ratio of water to pigment. So if you want a paler, lighter color, besides choosing a different, just realize I missed an area of red there. So we'll have to come back and hit that again. So you can intensify, so now that's more pigment, so see how much darker it is. And that's a way to communicate shadow as well. Heavier saturation of color versus less saturation of color. And to help pop that arm out of away from the shorts, I'll just make these shorts a bit darker. And then back here, there's a little bit of blue. But with a team on the front that's chasing hard, there's sort of an aqua green. They're like, wait a minute, we don't want those guys getting away. Then I'm going to, speaking of greens, so first, to go with their pink jerseys, EF Education is now, and this is new for this season, and they did get a Easy Post as their non-marquee sponsor. So Easy Post is their secondary sponsor. So I'm guessing that's where the green came from. But they have one of the more colorful kits now with this green and pink. And like I say, there he is with his little long pants on. Actually, I'm going to use some of that same dark green for these trees in the distance. One of the things that's interesting painting a race at this time of the year is, of course, things are starting to bud out. So a lot of the trees aren't green yet. So I'm finding when I look at them, I see a lot of violet tones, reds and oranges. So I'm just going to sit in here and now see how this tree was wet. So the colors, like here where it was a little drier, I could actually get a line, but where it was a little bit wetter, it kind of pools out into the... And then apparently, got a little cherry blossom action going right here on this next tree. And so again, to get that sense of, I can let heavier amounts of water to pigment and then lighter amounts, or pigment to water. So that sort of gives that blossom feel. Now before I forget, and while I've got a warm color on there, go ahead and go back here and get this red sleeve I forgot. wash that out. Move to the green of the grassways. So I have this darker green, this sort of yellow ochre makes a nice white. And because it's springtime, getting these nice bright greens. I don't know if you can hear that, but it's a very windy day where I'm painting as well. I live in an old house, so you can hear the rattling of the windows as well. Wow, and even howling wind. So I still have my no blacks to lay in these images, and the black tights and that, but usually I do the black close to last. Again, like I say, light to dark, warm to cool. So, of course I'm doing what I didn't mean to do. Oops. Started mixing my black. What I wanted to do was lay in this sky back here. So I laid some color in and then just put water in to float it out. Pick up just a little more paint and water. Now, you'll notice that this is pushed pin down. Normally I hold it with my left hand, but I had to have surgery on my shoulder. Try saying that 3 times fast. And so I'm really can't use my left arm yet. So I came up with this way to be able to hold the artwork down. So you can see, otherwise I'd be holding it with my left hand. So that the thing didn't go slipping and sliding around. But like I said, I can't really use it, so notice how you haven't seen my left hand yet. So now that it's a little more more intense water to paint ratio, I can get those little gray tones of their shades and this roof back here. And notice I'm also following the direction of the roof tiles so that's another thing you can use, is your brush stroke can help further communicate the directional movements, what's happening. You don't want your stroke to cut down on the ability to understand what's happening. You want to augment it. I think I want to add a little flesh tone. So he's wearing white gloves right here. That's making it a little confusing for me. So I'm going to, and most cyclists who do wear gloves, they're fingerless gloves. So that's why I come back in here and putting their fingers in. So normally I would have titled and signed this before I started, but I want to do that while the paint is dry in that point. Call this Slipping Away. And it's almost always the last thing I do is lay in the roadway. Get that a little darker. So telephone pole there. And things like the telephone poles can be really useful. They can establish a rhythm sometimes. They can help show perspective. So you're looking at things that will help draw the interest of the image. And so that's also like when I pause this video, the fact that Stefan Kuhn is looking back. He's looking back to see who's with him, see who's going to help. And he actually looks like he has, with the exception of one of the leader's teammates, the one you can't really see, he's got a group that have every reason to work together and try to get away. I mean, there's only 14 kilometers left to race. So they have a chance, albeit a slim one, but it's worth, these three are not known as sprinters, so their chance of being able to outsprint the few marquee sprinters that are still in the race, in the front group, not desperately chasing from the back, are slim. So you can see how I'm like, my brush is following the contour of this road. And right now I'm kind of floating some paint. And that's one of the things you can do, like, as long as it's open, as long as it's still wet, you can move things. And then I want to come back and show, I see a couple things here. The Stefan Kuhn. So this actually should have been blue. I'm going to intensify the color of those shorts again. And here we'll get a little bit more shadow on that hand, a little there, helmet. And then speaking of shadow, I've just got a dirty brush. It's got blue in it. And just move, not quite enough. Pick up just a little bit more pigment. And because we're looking at his shaded chest, he's bent over the bike. All right, I think that's what I wanted to do. So there you go. You'll have the opportunity to see all of this work on my blog at theartofcycling.blogspot.com. The work you can then also purchase there. You just follow through, click through the blog post and find the piece, the piece you like, and then that'll give you a direct link through to the website where you can purchase it. And the website is gregleach.com. And I'll put all these things in the descriptions. Of course, I hope you'll give me a like, give me a follow. All that'll help more people see this and discover what it is I'm doing here. So thank you for taking the time to look at the work, watch how it happens. Thank you.